Hey, this is Joe with Carbon Marine. We're coming into the fall seasons. With fall comes fronts, and we're here in Florida. So when the fronts come through, we end up with some windy conditions. There might be a day or two of wind prefrontal. Tends to get this fish a little hungry a day or two before, then disrupted during. But you can't let the wind stop you from fishing. Specifically on the topic of fly fishing, uh, a lot of people new to fly fishing tend to cringe when they have to fish in the wind. Uh, my take on it is, and I struggled with it just as much as anybody else. The wind is your friend, right? You got to use the wind is energy. So you can let that energy work against you, or you can let that energy work with you, or you can adapt to make the best out of the situation. So when you're trying to make a distance cast fly fishing in the wind, there's a couple of just fundamental basics. First of all, you should have the mechanics of double hauling down. So if you're unable to double haul, and all that means is basically you're pulling the line and you're pulling it again as you're making your forward cast, um, that double haul action amplifies the line speed. It adds energy to the line system because in fly fishing, the fly line is the mass that carries the little fly on the end of a leader that makes it turn over and causes the presentation to the fish. So I'm not a fly casting instructor, but I'm just kind of anecdotally speaking from my experiences of where I fell short and where I had my aha moments. And the biggest aha moment for me was understanding the timing and line speed. If the wind is in your face, yes, it's going to inhibit the forward cast, but it's going to supplement the back cast, meaning it's going to add energy to the back cast if your cast is structured correctly, if your form is correct. The easiest way to determine whether you're casting with good form in order to validate the quality of your casting ability is to videotape it. Set up a camera, your cell phone or something, and videotape what your loop looks like in the back cast and what your loop looks like in the forward cast. If you've ever gone to any of these casting competitions where you can sit and actually observe some of these world-class casters, that's not me, I'm average. You'll watch these guys, their loops are very tight. And what I mean by that is where the line is literally one's on the bottom and one part of the line's at the top and it's rolling forward. That loop is what we call it, is really tight. It might be, inches, 10, 12 inches and uniform. It's not bulb head real big in the front and or discombobulated and the lines, not tracking in the same plane. So energy in the line is critical to making a distance cast and an accurate cast in windy conditions. And the only way you get better is to cast in windy conditions. Now, that's the best advice, is getting energy into a good cast foundation. Where I did things wrong and where I see other people do things wrong is we try to overcast. We try to exaggerate the energy by swinging the rod tip too far forward or too far back and break the rule of 10 to 2, right? When you start opening your cast arc up, what you're doing is you're deloading the rod, which is going to take energy out of the system instead of adding energy to the system. You think you're adding energy because you're swinging and your arm hurts and your muscles are tired. You're casting against yourself. And I'm notorious for it. I did it for years until I went and got proper instruction. John Cave's a good guy if you're looking for somebody for performance casting instruction. But get somebody that knows how to analyze your cast, and they can help you with your timing. But in the wind, you have to keep those loops tight. You have to keep your casting entry and exit, 10 to 2, so that rod's loading correctly. Make sure you've got the right line. Like, there's some guys that can make a 100-foot cast with a 5-weight saltwater. I can't. There are some guys that can do that. My suggestion would be I'd probably move to a 9-weight or an 8-weight. It's a heavier line, so you can get more energy in the system, as where a 5-weight's a lighter line. So make sure you're using the right line and rod combination. I'm not a big fan of overlining certain rods, and I'm not a big fan of underlining certain rods. If you're a professional and you're really good at all this, then you can over and underload and do all that. But I'm just talking to the average guy that's out there trying to make a 40-foot, 50-foot cast in windy conditions to catch a fish that he can see that's catchable. You just go back to the basics. You got to have a good loop. Hit your stops, your 10 and 12 generally, and make sure that haul is timed correctly, and make sure it's a full haul. I was notorious for, when I get to my forward haul, or my back haul, my forward pull, I was only pulling the last third. I wasn't giving the line all the way back. I wasn't letting that energy get all the way up to the line where I had the range to make that second last haul that would load more speed into the line. So to boil it down to the brass tacks, line speed and tight loops equal good, long, accurate cast in windy conditions.